Hello and welcome to 100% Real with Ruby. I don't mean to sound very but that's typically how we are kind of sounding in our own heads many times in our journey. It's like I'm training hard, I'm watching what I'm eating. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do. I'm working hard. So why am I not seeing the results I want? Why is my body not reflecting this effort? I've been doing this for however long that you've been doing it for. Why am I not losing fat? Why am I not leaning out? Why don't I see definition? Playing around with your calories. You're not stuck because of a willpower issue or a discipline issue or a lack of trying harder issue. You're focusing on the wrong things. Even though I started it off with you're doing everything you're supposed to do, it's like what we think we're supposed to do isn't actually it. And it's not your fault for believing it that way because I was there too. And we are subject to our own bias and we never see ourselves as we are. That's one thing, but it can feel like it's working. Everything feels like it's working at first, which is why we usually stick to it. But that usually wears off the novelty effect. It's kind of like why people say, well, group classes worked for me. Well, yeah, they did at first because it was a new stimulus. But then what? And this is kind of where people who lose a lot of weight can say that what they did worked and have suboptimal ways of training. Maybe you lost a lot of weight and had suboptimal ways of training, and what you saw underneath was whatever muscle was there. Because even though you weren't like, you could be training suboptimally and look like you've built muscle in a deficit for the sheer fact that you've lost a lot of weight and you're revealing what's there, and that muscle was there to carry that weight around. Like, that is doing something. That is resistance training. Your body weighs something, and to move that around, to be able to do whatever it is, there's going to be muscle there, but building it up from a base of being like average body fat percentage or having lost all the weight and now you're an average body fat percentage, that takes a whole different approach. And I'm going to lay that out for you as well for the real reason you feel like you're spinning your wheels, because there are some things that are what you're supposed to be doing. It's just the way that you're doing them isn't right. The right things just done the wrong way. Or you do the right things, but you're not aware of all these other factors that then sabotage you from seeing results. So it feels like you're doing what you're supposed to do, but not seeing results. So let's just look at where you are right now and why it's not working. The doing everything right checklist can include things like tracking all your food, weighing things, logging things, you're hitting your protein, making sure that you get your macros in check most of the time at least, and you're training really freaking hard. 5 to 6 days a week, pushing yourself. Maybe you're doing 4 days and then you add more when you feel like you have room for more or you didn't work hard enough, feel like you're on track for a little bit, and then you completely fall off. That's one element where you feel like you're on track and then fall off. And you don't mean to. It's just like, I can't get my shit together is what I usually hear. I don't know why I can't stay consistent. Or you don't realize how much of an impact what you do differently on the weekend impacts your results. The other one is where you feel like you're building muscle too fast or you bulk too fast. So then you cut your calories to lean out to reveal the muscle. That's the biggest thing that I see many women do. They play too safe with their calories. So you could be doing everything right, but you're playing way too safe. You're not focusing on fueling performance and what actually drives the needle in physique change. So you're in and out of wanting to eat more, wanting to build muscle, and then dieting, or you diet for every summer, or you don't even know where your strategy is with your nutrition. And strategy is what gets planned results. It's what gets results that you can predict a lot better over time. It's not doing extra cardio. It's not slashing your calories. It's not trying to lean out by doing another deficit. That is where most people go wrong when they are technically doing everything right. It's doing everything right for most of the year, and then you try to lean out by cutting your calories again. And I mentioned this in the prior podcast, but I think I did, or was it in a story? I'm sorry, I'm going to repeat it. But if you don't allow yourself enough time to build yourself up with technique, with form, with performance, that initial stuff in itself takes time. And even if you already have a base, you've been training for a while, you know how to execute things, We still do need to make sure that all of that is on point, because there's been so many instances where women think that they're doing all the right things in training, but they're not getting full proper ranges of motion. They're not controlling their pelvis. They're not bracing. They're not breathing properly. They're not using straps. They're not progressing in a way that will actually build strength and muscle, because you can't just have random progressions or random programs thrown at you every 4 to 6 weeks. There needs to be structured progression. There needs to be something there to ensure that you are building muscle, because building muscle needs to be challenged. You will see strength, like just because you're seeing the strength move up in your logbook, even though stronger is leaner, just because you're seeing that go up does not mean you're building muscle, because there's the brain component to it as well. It's when you see strength go up over time, past the 8 weeks, past the 16 weeks, because that's when you know that it's actual muscle tissue, because you're continuing to get stronger beyond the brain doing its work, beyond you learning a certain skill, beyond you getting better at certain movements. Many women, especially when they start out, they feel like they bulk too fast or they build too fast. You're doing it all right, but then it's, my pants are feeling really tight. But that isn't muscle. You don't build muscle that fast. And every time you freak out at your body getting bigger or feeling bigger, because you're not in a deficit, because you're focusing on something that isn't what you've always focused on, that's when you spin your wheels. It's not extra cardio. It's not pulling back on carbs. It's not pulling back on your training. It's continuing doing what you're doing and trusting the process, which is really freaking hard to do if you're making up your own process or you're using apps off the internet and confused about what you should do regarding your body fat percentage to your muscle tissue percentage, which I see all the time as well. So there's that. But then what else happens? Yeah, okay. So if fat loss is the goal and you do that process and you're doing everything right, you lose weight and then maybe see a little bit more definition, think it works, and then you keep pushing that and pushing that, and you think that that is what's building, like you see more muscle definition, so you think that that's building muscle at the same time, and then you stay stuck in the same cycle. But the more that you keep your calories low and you don't bring them all the way back up again, which many women don't do because they're scared that if they increase their calories, they're going to gain weight, they're going to gain fat, they're going to lose their progress. So they stay pedaling low calories or only bring them up a little bit. So you're never really in a place to build muscle. You're never really in a place to lose fat either. And you'll probably never be in a place to lose fat if you stay on those lower calories and you stay in that mindset, because just because you're physically not losing weight does not mean that your metabolism, your hormones, your mindset, all that kind of stuff is not getting taxed, because it is. And that is why you won't be able to do a deficit again. And where are you going to cut from if you do? It's just a shitload of fatigue that's been piling up on itself. And then there's the other one where you could be doing that over and over again, and then you plateau. So then you go even harder. You grind more, you cut your food more without realizing that plateaus happen. Progress doesn't happen that fast. Or you've been doing the dieting for so long that no matter what you do now, all you're focusing on is how much weight that you've regained or where you're not yet, or just wanting to go back to where you were before because you got results before. You're not allowing yourself to do the process and get yourself out so you can focus on what you want to do. You're trying to build a physique while staying in a calorie deficit. You're trying to build habits and build a pathway for long-term results to actually make progress, to stop sabotaging yourself, but you're doing that in a calorie deficit. You don't stop sabotaging yourself while your calories are in a deficit. You don't stop your emotional eating. You don't stop the random binges. You don't stop any of the things that are sabotaging you. None of that can get worked on while you're in a calorie, well, not even in a calorie deficit, while you're focusing on dieting, while you're focusing on getting leaner. So you keep falling off, and it's got nothing to do with lack of willpower. It's because your body is screaming at you to stop, even your mindset in all of this. Like I said, just because you're not physically doing it does not mean your brain is not there. It's just a worse fate because your brain is dieting. Your body is not. You're probably going in the opposite direction, ending up in a worse place because you're not really building anything because your focus isn't where it should be. You're focusing on the wrong things. That's the point. It's just, what are the right things when you say that you're doing everything right? Because when any of those cycles happen, any of the prior cycles that I just mentioned, the solution that we usually go to is, let's do it again. Let's cut our calories. We can't increase them because I'm letting myself go less. And I know this because it was me. I'm like, well, I'm already screwing up. I can't afford it now. I'll just push a little bit longer. I'll just fix this first. oh no, I'll just fix this first and then I'll worry about that. Fuck, I just ended up worse. Well, I need to fix this up again. You're constantly working, but never really getting anywhere. It's like that treadmill analogy. You're trying to fill a bucket to take it somewhere so you can start to do whatever you need to do with the water in the bucket, but you're not even able to fill up the bucket, let alone move to where you need to move because there's holes in it. Patch up the holes first. Just focus on patching up the holes. Then we can figure out how to fill up the bucket. Then we can figure out where we're actually going and what our first step is. But there's no point figuring out all of that shit until you've fixed the holes. Because we can plan ahead for all the destinations, but how do we know what the weather's going to be like? How do we know if nothing comes up in our planned routes by time we've patched the holes in the bucket? That was a really good analogy, but I want you to think of it in that way because this is the biggest trap and it will continue to be the biggest trap because as humans, we are the most impatient beings ever and muscle does not grow that fast. That's good news and it's bad news because it means that your tight pants aren't you gaining fat and your tight blouses and sleeves aren't you gaining fat. If you're still being strategic and you've got a plan for your maintenance phase. It's not just, let's just eat more. No, you still need structure. Without the structure, well, and a lot of people don't do that. It's either I'm dieting or I'm not dieting. And it becomes all hell breaks loose. Like you don't treat it as seriously. And you need to start tracking and track in maintenance for a few months, at least with the same meticulousness to start to understand what it's like tracking there, which is why we need to start off at that phase and have maintenance breaks before we even think of fat loss. And then we can start to build a more flexible mindset around the nutrition in itself because there is more flexibility within maintenance, especially if you've built a lot of strength and muscle mass, you have more flexibility there because maintenance is a range. My range is huge for that very reason. So that's your good news. That's your bad news. And the longer you do this for, the slower muscle gain is. So if you cannot find a way to enjoy the process, if you cannot find a way to keep you doing this, like I keep saying, you will never get to where you want to be. Like, I don't want to be a party pooper. I want to help you there. But the reality is we need to find ways to enjoy this. It doesn't need to be so dully. Patience is always going to be the biggest thing. And this is me encouraging you because a lot of the time it's not that nothing is happening. It's not that you suck or there's something wrong with you or it's not or something you're not doing. It's just that it literally takes that long. Alice is a completely different metric scale. It happens so much faster, especially if you can set it up right. And as we age, things are way slower, yes, but how much harder do you want to make it on yourself? That's why so many people give up. That's why so many people go back straight into a calorie deficit because they get bored or they're impatient or it's summer and they just feel fluffy and they don't see the muscle definition yet. Because that's not going to come in your first building phase, which I'm not referring to a surplus there. I'm just referring to you finally getting out of the calorie deficit and focusing on building muscle. Just honestly, spend a lot of time in maintenance building muscle. It's the best news ever because it also tells you that you don't need to lose 20 pounds or 10 kilos to completely change how your body looks. And you don't need to gain that much either because just putting on, let's just say 5 pounds, 5 kilos, 10 kilos of muscle in the right places, it completely changes your body shape. People say body type this, body type that. There's no such thing as body types because you can change your body type through the lifestyle habits that you do, through the habits that you do, through the actions that you take, through building muscle. You could look like an apple or a pear until you start putting muscle into the right places. Like, I'm not going to say that there's no genetic factors that play into where you lose and build muscle. I mean, lose and gain fat, because that is a genetic thing. That's a hereditary thing. That has nothing to do with body type. So many women complain about having big legs and big ass because that's where they store their body fat. And then so many other women wish that it was that case. And then as you get into your 80s, even your 70s, even your 60s, depending, you start to realize that you're pretty damn blessed that you were able to build muscle in those areas, especially because many people that age look like that guy from Minions or whatever place he's from that has like the big top and the tiny little legs, because that's literally what legs are. Legs are mostly muscle. And if you lose that muscle mass, you just have sticks. And most of our body fat at that age goes to our midsection, and you can change that. You can prevent that. So what you really need to focus on is the definition you want later, not the definition that you want now, because you're like, if you're not giving yourself enough time to build muscle, what are you actually trying to reveal? You need to stop dieting for long enough to build it. And you need to start focusing on the shit that matters. So doing all the right things, what are you focusing on? You're focusing on the wrong stuff. Focusing on getting better at training, your technique, your form. How can I lift heavier? How can I improve my squats? How can I progress this lift? How can I progress here? Instead of slashing calories and asking, how can I burn more? Or what do I need to change in my diet? Ask the question, how can I improve my training right now? And then you just get to a place where you just log your weights and voila, you just wait for feedback from your coach because you've been doing it for long enough. Like, I've had my coach for years. Like, I'm human too. I'm someone who has goals as well. I'm not just some weird person that flopped off from the heavens above and is doing a podcast and is coaching people. Like, I'm in the same place. I'm just like you, doing the same things with a coach who's helping me with things as well. And I'm still trying to build muscle. I still have vanity goals. I just don't focus on them. And I'm very proud of the body that I built. And I went through the same, well, not the same shit, but I went through a lot of the same struggles. Maybe a lot of the very same struggles. They just showed themselves and manifested themselves differently in my life, but the mindset behind it. So focus on progressing in the gym. Focus on making that your bitch. And I'm going to talk about training intensity and what to focus on there as well. But in saying that, you want to fuel for your training. If training is the focus that we want, anything that I mentioned moving forward about what to focus on with your training doesn't matter if your recovery and your nutrition isn't structured in a way that is set to optimize your performance. You want to do everything that you possibly can to optimize for performance. You might not be able to in your crazy, chaotic mum life or work life, but it's controlling what we can control to optimize for it. I have a girl who just decided that she's going to train at 5 a.m. in the morning. So she has to wake up at like 3:34 and she doesn't want to eat before she goes. So I'm like, just take some sultanas / raisins to the gym and eat them while you're warming up. Eat them when you're in the car. Eat them while you're training. That gives you something. That gives you some energy, because she actually recognizes now that she never felt good. She never performed her best. Now that she's performing really well. And if that's not enough, we can add something else to that. Some salt and vinegar rice cakes, because carbs are your best friend. They make you stronger. They help higher quality for longer. They improve your recovery, and they help you build shape, because they hydrate your muscles. Just like creatine, have your creatine, they hydrate your muscles. The more hydrated your muscle is, the more force it can produce, the stronger that muscle is. And you need to stop cutting calories every time you feel fluffy for that very reason, because yes, the muscle is going to be full. Now, the training, it's not the scale that we are using as a metric of progress. It's the training. It's filming your lifts. What do they look like? What does the last rep look like or feel like? Are you pushing close to failure? Are you being honest with yourself about your reps and standardizing them? Just because you're not sending your videos to your coach doesn't mean not to film yourself. Film as many of your lifts as you can. Watch them over in between your sets. You have 2 minutes, 90 seconds of a break. It takes at least 90 seconds to watch a video. Well, it takes around 90 seconds to watch a video that you just did, maybe 1 minute. So there's no excuse there. Just watch the video over in your rest times and then adjust it. See if you're cheating form on the last few reps, if you're trying to push yourself to failure. I do that all the time. Am I cheating myself? Do I need to be more honest with myself? Do I really earn a weight increase on this set, on this exercise? Because yes, I want you to be chasing the weights going up and the reps going up, but not at the expense of that. Even though at times I would say you can sometimes afford a little bit more, but it's also being honest with yourself and writing on your log plus a half, plus something. The people who make real progress, they don't obsess over fat loss, and they start obsessing about how good they can feel when they are performing well, when they're confident in how much stronger they're getting. They have these other metrics of progress. That is something you can obsess about. You focus on the performance, you focus on the gym. I'm not saying obsess over it, but you obsess over how good you feel, because you are worth celebrating. You're like, from feeling like crap and struggling, when you feel amazing, of course you want to obsess over it. You want to focus on compound lifts, squats, deadlifts, pull-ups, pull-downs, not banded pull-ups, even though you can do that as well, but there's no real point. I would say if you want to get better at pull-ups, you need to actually do shit to get better at pull-ups. But in the meantime, assisted pull-up machine, you can use a banded pull-up thing if you don't have a gym, but I would say do horizontal rows. That's the same thing. Do row variations, presses, like I mentioned, horizontal presses, as in your bench presses, vertical presses, as in your shoulder presses, big compound movements, lunges, split squats, staggered stance things, leg press, big movements. Your legs are very metabolic, but it doesn't mean you just throw a shit ton of exercise at your legs. That was a mistake I made. It's like, well, my legs are the most metabolic things there are. So the more that I work out my legs, the more calories I'm going to burn. The more calories that I burn, the leaner I'm going to be. So I'm just going to smash them into oblivion and do as many sets as I can and drop sets and blah, 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 blah. No, it does the opposite. You need to get stronger over time, and you need to have a way of progressing. And you're not going to have a way of progressing if you just throw the kitchen sink at your legs or just do everything and anything. It's really important that you have structure and you have a program to follow with that, because otherwise it's going to be really freaking hard for you to get anywhere there. And you're not falling off. Going back to what I just said, you're not falling off because you lack discipline. You're falling off because your body is starving for fuel. You're falling off because you've been dieting your whole life. How the hell are you going to be sticking to it? You've been thinking about dieting your whole life. Like, that shit stacks on your mind. And if your calories have always been pretty damn low, how are you going to allow yourself to see the results that you want? And if you're so used to seeing that fast progress and needing that fast progress and needing to know everything that happens in the cascade of time that happens as a series of unfortunate events, you're going to let yourself down because no one can predict that shit. You need to detach from the scale. You need to detach from seeing results now. You need to detach from the idea that another calorie deficit is going to make you leaner, because you can't lean up what hasn't been built, and it takes so much time. Focusing on performance over aesthetics is your key. The aesthetics is the byproduct of the shit that you do that compounds over time, and that shit, it doesn't look like or feel like you're making progress while you're doing it, but it stacks. And I know it's really easy for me to say in your eyes, but that's because I train freaking hard. And the harder you train with intensity, within context of what you are training, because it's not like if you have a squat at the end of the workout, don't expect to be doing the same weight that you do at the start of the workout sort of thing. Or if you have accumulated fatigue from a few days and then there's another exercise and there's the fatigue from it all, don't expect to do what you would do if it was at the start of the week after 2 days off sort of thing. Or if you're trying to get better at a particular exercise, so you have it 2 or 3 days of the week, or a whole shitload of stuff similar to it, you're going to have more fatigue as well. Fatigue masks progress, but it does not mean that you're not making progress if it's strategic. You're not throwing kitchen sink at it. There is strategic method to the madness. So that. And while you're doing that, you want to be in maintenance. It's the only way that you're going to get to your leaner body. It's the part where your brain's going to fight you. It's going to fight me, because I'm going to tell you the one thing that you know that I'm going to say anyway, but you really need to stop focusing on getting leaner right now, because getting leaner is building muscle, and it's not going to feel like you're getting leaner while you're doing it, especially when you're starting out with a higher body fat percentage, but you're not going to get to that lower body fat percentage if you keep trying to skip the steps. I realized that the other day, that it's so easy in that sense for me to realize that I'm training in a certain way to get leaner, quote unquote, even though I'm not dieting. I'm like getting leaner by building muscle and adding weight. Now, that's possible for me now because I'm already in a lower body fat percentage, because I was doing that same process with the higher body fat percentage. And I actually was in a surplus for quite a long period of time. And you don't need to do that, but you do need to accept the fact that it's going to take a lot longer for you to do. Because you can build muscle in maintenance if you're fueling your performance and if you're training really hard. And this is the mindset shift that you need to make, because your training will actually improve. Your metabolism will get stronger. Your mindset will get stronger. You'll stop feeling obsessed and restricted and exhausted, and you'll start having energy through the day. You'll stop being at constant war with yourself, not just your body. And through that, you will finally get to a place where you feel like you made it. And that is when the next diet isn't even on your mind. It's just now you're in a place where, okay, we can cut calories if you're wanting to. So now it's like, I have a few girls that have been with me for years. So now it's just conversations with them. Do you want to actually do a deficit now? Because you're in a place to. And we can keep your muscle easily because we put yourself into a place where you have a lot of calories. you haven't been dieting this whole time. And we did gain a little bit of weight, and brilliant. Now you can actually start to see change happen, but you still need to train like a beast because you can't reveal what wasn't built through the training. The training is what builds the muscle. It's the training that creates the shape. It's just your food needs to be there to give it the resources to recover and to rebuild bigger, to rebuild stronger. So with all that being said, let's stop seeing food as the enemy and start seeing it as fuel for progress. It's fueling your progress. It's fueling your performance. You need to stop thinking that you need to suffer your way through it to get results. I've heard so many times from clients that they feel like they're failing because it feels too easy. There's something they're doing wrong, and then they sabotage because it seems too easy. That's what I used to hear from a few of my girls who now we've worked through that mindset, because you're so used to it being hard and grueling that it feels wrong for it to actually be easy, because the struggle that you're in right now, it's an option that you're choosing to be in. It's optional. You're choosing it because you don't need to suffer, and you don't need to be in this place where you're constantly losing confidence in yourself, where you're constantly feeling exhausted and depleted, not even physically, it's mentally from the chasing that you're doing with all this stuff, trying to figure it out on your own as well. Like, yes, okay, you eat, you know your shit, you follow advice. Everyone pretty much does, but it doesn't mean that you can't get along better with some support, an outside eye, someone that makes you feel a lot more engaged with it all. So when is the time to diet? I mean, when it is time to diet, when it's actually time to diet, not only will your body respond, but you will mentally be able to stick it through without sabotaging, without falling off, without feeling like you're a failure because you can't stick to it. You can't be consistent. You just can't stay on track. No, you will be doing it. So you owe it to yourself. You owe yourself feeling strong and powerful. You owe yourself feeling amazing. So let's do it the right way and actually make your effort pay off. I love you all, and I will see you on the next podcast.